Hey guys, and how's it going? Hey, we're going to continue on this ezgo golf cart pickup truck that I picked up a couple days ago. In the video before this, we brought it in, went through the carburetor, kind of educated ourselves how things operated, and got it to run. But unfortunately, it doesn't make much power. It smokes pretty bad. Smoke might just be too much two-stroke oil in the bottom end, but it doesn't really make power. Did a compression test, and it had like 60 to 70 psi, which is way too low to be a good running engine. So we're gonna go move forward with continuing to dig in and see if we can get the top end off that engine. I don't know if we need to pull that engine right out of there. It's kind of framed in, but I figure we can probably start taking some pieces off, make it smaller, so that either we can take it out, the engine out as one unit and take it on a bench and repair it, or if we're able to get the cylinder and the cylinder head off in there, that we could do that and we can take care of it right where it is. Not sure which way it's going to go. I cut an access hole in the last time just to make for better operations when we did the carburetor, and just for future repairs. And when the time comes, we'll just put a lip around it and let it set right back in again, and it'll be like nobody ever knew. All right, I'm not sure we're going to go show you. I'm going to start, probably looks like I'm going to take the starter generator off. We'll get that out of the way, get some of the exhaust system out of the way, and I'll bring you back. Well, getting rid of that generator and exhaust sure made a lot of room. Fortunately, get you in there. This is fixed. Here's the frame down below with a cradle, and this bracket is welded right onto it. So even if you unbolt this, it's not like this plate can come out of the way and access this side of the cylinder head. And it's got the same on the other side. So it physically has to kind of like come up out of that cradle. Another thing I saw too, here's the front motor mount. I don't think that front motor mount is motor mounting. That kind of gave up the ghost. So we're gonna keep picking away. I got a oil line for the oil pump to take off, a couple of cables for the carb. And I don't know if there's gonna be enough room. I just know what direction to try and get that out of there. I have a feeling it's going to be something like twisting it up like this and try coming towards us. It's hard to say. We could drop that whole cradle, I guess. We got like a pivot here and a pivot there. Maybe that'll drop down, or how about the other side of it? Yeah, two more. That's not really not going to drop down though. It's got a bracket going over the top. So you could drop that side down. This side we can't. What a strange setup. I guess, yeah, after you used to probably doing a couple of them, you know how they come apart, but for first timer, it seems counterintuitive the way it was stacked together. Maybe the body wasn't on at first, and it's much easier to deal with. All right, keep whittling. There's all the guts of everything flipped over, kind of connected. Try to keep all the cables and pumps and everything where they are. All the bolts are out of it, and it is just sitting there like a sharp, greasy football. And I was trying to get the clutch off of it, the bell off the clutch, and it's not having it right now. If I have to, I'll wrestle with it more, but it's starting to look like if I turn it up enough, it might even fall down through the hole. Not sure yet. So I'm going to go popping in the stand, try doing some more wiggling on that, maybe throw a pair of gloves on, and see if we can get that to drop down out the bottom. The other direction might be right straight up towards you too. Let's go see how it wiggles around inside there. Once we get it out, we can probably get the clutch off, so when I put it back in, it might be a little easier. It's got me. Come on. Almost it. Oh, yeah. Nice. One thing I noticed, so these are the head bolts, but they turn. Two of them are turning, and it had the bracket that supported it was bolted to here. I don't know if that kind of backed off when I went to go undo those bolts. I just don't know the answers to that, because if that was the case and they were loose, then it's going to have a head gasket that's noise, blowing out. That would cause low compression too. But I would think it would have been much louder than what it was. It didn't sound like. It would sound like it had an exhaust leak. These four are the four on the other side are already removed. These four, and hopefully we can get the tin off there. Trying Get a little bit of movement out of that one. That one feels like she's a snapper. Steel into aluminum. By the time you try heating it, and getting it to go, sometimes you're better off just... It's got a snap on us. Yeah. There's no amount of heat and penetrant that was going to get that. The other three are loose. Let's make sure. Now I'm paranoid. That's good. Sometimes you crack them loose and you go half a turn and then they're locked up. Right. Is that enough, or do these have to come off? Oh, you got it. Caught up on that stud right there. Let me get a long screwdriver to sneak in behind there and give a little pressure out to clear that stud. Gotta get that one out. Man, does it not want to come off of that one? I wonder if there's another plate under there holding it. There it goes. Nope, just me. And we're in. Ooh, she's packed. Yeah, I think that would have caused a little bit of overheating problem. That might be why it took itself out. Actually overheated. Yeah, she's packed pretty good, huh? So there's a fan over here. It spins, takes air, blows it across the top of the cylinder head and the fins, and exits out on this side. Well, that is completely clogged, that whole pathway all the way around, so that was overheating. Again, we still have that bolt's loose and that one's loose. I don't know if they backed off or not. Let's get all that vacuumed up, cleaned up out of there, and we'll get the cylinder head off. Fish in a barrel. All right, now we're getting into the nitty-gritty. Let's see, they were not doing very much, huh? That was about 12 millimeter. That top one wasn't very tight either. Yeah, man. Ready? Dun, da, da, da. That looks like, to me, a blown head gasket is literally missing a lot of it. Where the compression was leaking out of there, that I'm not quite sure yet, but definitely ate a bunch of that away, huh? And that's the corner that we had an issue with the bolts not being tight. I'm kind of wondering if we need rings and all. Let's go clean the crap off of here. She's a little sloppy in the hole. Let me go get some of the crap off of it, and I'll bring you right back. A little detailing. I rolled that piston down in the cylinder down to the ports. Let's go take a peek. We peeked in with a bore scope earlier. I thought I saw a score going down one side. It actually looks quite good. I don't see what I thought I saw. Is that a thing? Very tiny ridge, if any. I don't know what you guys can see. Okay, that ridge. You can barely feel it. I actually think maybe the bottom end, I mean, we gotta look at the rings yet. But I think the piston, that's not a hole in the dead center of it, is it? A little ignition hole? See it? Let's go get something to stab at that real quick. That might do it. Yeah, let's go see if there's anything to that. It definitely goes in a decent amount. Let's go bring that up top dead center again. What is that? That's just the way it's made, or is that like a pre-ignition? Doesn't go through. She's got a bit of slop to her, but I'm gonna go take a wire wheel real quick and go clean the carbon off the top of the piston. I'm gonna see if there's any stampings on it, like it was done 30 over or anything. I just did that. F. So the only stamping I see on it is an F. I'm not sure if that's something else right there. Where's your light? Where'd you put it? F and an S. I think S is probably going to be standard, is my guess. And the F is probably maybe the direction of the piston, the way it points. There's only 4 bolts that hold the jug on. Let me get that kind of cleaned up a little bit. So you can go slip that off. We'll take a quick peek at what the piston and rings look like. We got them. One of the studs pulled out. That's okay. That one. Definitely a lot of oil. Let's go wipe that jug down. We'll take a quick peek at that. And the piston, see how that looks. I don't see any scuffing on the wall at all. Not yet, anyway. A little bit right there, but that's not bad. I've taken them apart and they looked terrible. And that piston physically doesn't look bad at all. Let's get the rings off without breaking them. It's top ring and bottom. What I'm going to go do is definitely has an interesting wear pattern, huh? I've never seen an elliptical ring. I've seen them where the ring is the same size all the way around, but I've never seen it where it's thin. Goes to fat and back to thin. I want to say those rings are done. Slight observation on my end, but they are not looking like the physical correct size that they should be. Especially the one on the bottom. The bottom one's really wore out. Let's clean up the jug. We're going to go set these down inside, and we're going to look and see how far this ring gap is apart from one another. If that gap is just a couple thou open, that means the rings have not worn and expanded out that much, but I have a feeling by the look of them that they have. Let's go get that. I relocated this over here because the lighting is a little bit better. Let's go drop one of those in. Oh, that is a mile off. You see that gap? That's about 3/8 of an inch. And let's see what it does if it goes lower. Yeah, pretty consistent. Yeah, that is just absolutely burned up. That gap should be about, I might break it trying to get it that close. It should be about that far apart, like 6 thou. Not 600 thou. That's not 600 thou. That's probably 300. That's a good, almost 1/3 of an inch, I'd say, gap. I've never seen one that large. I've never seen that wear down that far and still be able to run. I'm amazed how much it was still kind of running on. So what I think happened was it overheated. It got that crap around it. And so the fan couldn't cool it. It overheated and just started burning itself up. I'm amazed that the piston is so nice and the jug does not look bad at all. I don't know what you can be able to see. I haven't honed it or anything. It does not look bad. I don't think the piston and rings and gasket is all that much money. The jug is. The jug, I think, is like 150 bucks. So if we can get away with just doing piston rings and a head gasket, I think we'll be okay. And I actually think we are okay. And it's on standard bore. I'm not going to bother doing any bore on it. I think we're just going to go put her back together. We can go see what I can do for shopping. But for right now, other than cleaning parts, it's about as far as I can go. Well, that's good. I'm glad we kind of got into this one. I was going to stop and not move forward with it for a while, but I'm glad I kind of moved on with it. You probably are too. You're like, come on, are you ever going to show us anything getting fixed? We're just calling it. All right. I need to go shopping. Hey guys, and how's it going? It's about, I don't know, probably 2 weeks later after the last video of taking the engine out of the ezgo golf cart that had low compression. And since then, we have had some parts come in. We have new piston rings and gasket set, which should be everything we need to try to rejuvenate this thing back to life. I'm going to take a minute, clean up the bottom of the crankcase, the cylinder head, and the jug, and we'll get back into reassembling it in just a second. I got that stuff washed up. I want to do a little bit of honing on the cylinder just to clean up any irregularities, and a lot of times too it gives you a good visual to see what the sides of the bore look like. This is just 2-stroke oil because it's what I have. Let's go run that. I'm not looking to take off a bunch of material. I'm just looking to kind of clean up and put a little bit of a crosshatch on the sidewalls. Those little crosshatches hold oil for lubrication. They got more to go. You can see where it's not even touching right here. That's where all the compression happens. All the work gets done all the time. So that's going to be a little bit of a recess. I'm going to continue cleaning that up a little bit, and I'll bring you back when I feel it's time. I probably did that for under 5 minutes. I don't want to go crazy. You're not trying to bore the thing out. But like I said, you're trying to get a crosshatch pattern. That's what holds the oil. And you can see down below, other than the ridge line, you can see where that's happened. So we're going to go take the piston right now. We're going to set the rings in, the new ones. And we'll take the piston. We'll use the piston to kind of make sure that it's square. We're going to take a look at the gap and see what kind of gap we have on there. That's how well those rings are going to be able to seal. How's that? Can you see? Let's see the difference between the new and the old ring. Look how thin that wall got over there. All right, just try to drop one of these in there. And we are going to look for how much gap there is. I probably should have rotated that where you guys could see better. We're going to use the piston to make sure it's square. And that, let's go give her a little bit more so it's worst case scenario in that where the compression is. I should probably move you. Can you see? Well, kind of. Let's go give us a rough idea what we have for a gap. I'm going to stick like an 1/8 thou. We'll start with that. 8/5. Go at 12. 12. 16. Let's go way up. I don't think we're 32. No, we're not 32. I'm gonna guess we're probably about 25 worst case scenario. $25 does not fit. $20 does not fit. $14. I'd call it around 15. Now we're going to go lower it down. And what I'm looking for is so that it doesn't bind. I don't want it so that it's 1, you know, or 2. You kind of want, I don't know, probably my guess would be like 5 thou. I haven't looked it up, but let's go try a 5. 5/5. I'm gonna go actually a little lower with it. It would have been much better if I put it there, huh? You get the idea. Shove a 10 in there. 10 goes with drag, so we'll call it 10. The old rings, watch this. Here's the O-rings. They are a good 300, 350. So the other ring was make much better compression than that one. That was just not going to have it. So it looks like it's pretty good. It's got about a 5 thou taper coming up. You could rebuild it and hone the cylinder out or bore the cylinder out. See if I can not break a ring taking it out. You can bore it, go like 30 thou over, so the ring would be a little bit larger and match that cylinder, but I think we're going to be okay with what we got. We're not looking to restore this thing, we're just looking to rebuild it and get it back into operating condition without spending a ton of money. Alright, piston slop. Let's go see how that is. Let's go flip it around. STD, it does not have a sexually transmitted disease, that's just standard bore. EX is exhaust side. That doesn't feel terrible. Generally, you're going to get more play this direction on the crank. It's moving in this rotation, not this rotation. So the piston kind of gets pushed against this side and this side. So it kind of makes more of an oval than it does a circle. It seems decent. I'm kind of eyeballing the gap going around it too. I think we'll be fine. All right, so my intake actually comes in on this side in the crankcase. It's down below. It's not coming into the cylinder head. Uses the bottom of the crank for the air fuel charge. It goes into where the crankshaft is. The oil that you mix and pre-mix sticks to the components down there and is actually the lubrication for the bottom end and the sides of the cylinder below the rings. But this is going to be the intake port. It opens a passage internally, allows the air fuel to go into the crankcase, pushes it. When the piston goes down, pushes it to the top ports, allows the air fuel to mix in here, gets closed off, compresses it, fires it, pushes it back down, and then the exhaust port, the exhaust port's going to open, poof, and it's going to shoot the exhaust out. Go a little bit further down, the piston's going down, it's putting like positive pressure on the crankcase down below, and that in turn is pushing the air fuel to come through these ports, come back up again, refill it, and fire it over again. Boom, back down, exhaust fires out. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. All right, let's go get the block over. I think we can go swap the piston over, put some rings on it, and get her reassembled. Actually, let's work on a couple of those broken studs before I forget. Throw a little bit of heat on them, and then we'll get some little vice grips on them, see if they'll rock loose. Make sure we can get a good bite. I will. Throw some heat in it. People comment about using penetrating oils. I have not really had great luck with it. I usually find if they're that stuck, they stay that stuck. They do, you know, they did serve their place. But again, you got to get a little bit of wiggle. Once you get a little bit of wiggle on them, then you're good. And sometimes when it's all together, you'll spend more time with penetrating oils and working it. And if you just wait till later where you have a little bit better access like we do now, we can actually get it and actually put some heat on it because there's not other stuff around it that's going to catch fire like the carburetor. You can get them out much easier. You'll see just the white corrosion that grows on them. I'm going to try doing the other one cold. See what we get. See if the heat was necessary. I'm watching right down the center of it. I'm watching the vice grips. You don't want to keep doing it to where you keep popping the vice grips off, because once you blow the edge off, you're screwed. It wasn't going without heat. Let's give it some heat. Sometimes too, what you can do is take an air gun and blow around it, because like there's like dust that's coming out of it. If you can get the dust out of there, it gives room in the threads. So if right in here it's all filled up with crap, you hit it with an air gun, it blasts that away. It gives more room for it to come undone. Doesn't really seem like it's necessary in this one. Larger hardware. Another thing too is on like vice grips, or I call them water pump pliers. There's a direction that you're supposed to use them. What I mean by that, you're looking at the vice grips. See how it's got a little bit of an angle to it? Actually, let me go grab a different pair of pliers. I'll show you on them. We'll go with these. So if you're trying to take a bolt off, you want to grab it like this and twist. You do not want to grab it like this and twist. This is pulling the jaws apart when you're turning it that way. When you go like this, when you're turning it like this, it's actually making itself tighter. It's pulling the two jaws together instead of the other way. It actually wants to push them apart. That's true with anything that's got that little bit of a taper to the head on it. Like vice grips, you don't want to be using vice grips like this. You get a better grip if you grab it like this and turn them. It kind of bites into the head of it. This is the other side, and that one's broke off kind of flush where you really can't get it with vice grips. So we're going to go drill it out, and just for sake of showing how stuff gets repaired. You can drill it out completely and then run a tap through it to clean it out, or we can try an easy out. We're going to try an easy out. I have a feeling it's not going to work very well, but we'll give it a shot. Got a punch, it's got a taper on it. I want to try to get close to the center as I can and put a divot in it so that the drill bit doesn't walk. We'll go with right about there. And if you're off a little, like say if you punch that a little off center, just your very beginning, just kind of lean the drill a little bit till you get happy center, then stand the drill back up again. And we need fast. No, I know that's going to have a bite on it because we already know what it did on the other ones. So we're going to go take an easy out. We're going to tap it in. Throw a pair of vice grips on it. But I want to hit it with some heat. Get a little bit of bite. I'm going to tap it as an. Throw some heat at it. Battery's flashing on the camera. I'm kind of doubting it. And the other problem with them too is that they push out on the walls of the screws. So they actually trying to, in a way, make it tighter. Yeah. And the one thing you do not want to do is snap it off in there. So that's not going to go. We're going to end up drilling it out. All right, you can go change your battery. There's charts you can look stuff up for what size drill bit you want to use for what size screw. quick and dirty. I use the shank of the drill bit, and you just want to look, see if you can see threads on each side of it a little bit, then you know you just within the ballpark. Again, I said it's quick and dirty. Good. If you're trying to figure out what tap to go use real quick and dirty, also you just lay the screw in the threads, and if you can see that they match up with each other, each one falls into its own groove. Help if I show you, huh? It just lines right up inside there. You know you have the right tap. And again, the same thing with putting the screw behind it, whether you can see it or not. It should be almost the exact same size, and kind of peekaboo if you pop it on each end. Not exactly the tap that we should be using. We should have more of a middle or a bottoming tap, but we're going to go run this one in first. Just stuff it in the drill. Get a little tighter. I kind of like the drill, use them in the drill, because it'll slip and not snap the bit when it bottoms out. There we go. Good. They're just holding the tin that goes around there. They get a slight self-tapping capacity to them too. Hopefully, you don't have to get the one out of the other side. We're able to push the pin out this way. And we have to get something to make a curve and be able to tap on it a little. I just went behind it with an angle screwdriver. Gave her a couple of taps to where it revealed itself, and now we should be able to get it with the vice grips. Stop bumping into you. Get a bearing in there where you want to watch out for with the two side plates. Let's go take a peek what they look like. Well, that looks pretty good, and the surface looks there pretty decent. Look at that intake port. Here's the original one. Here's the aftermarket one. It's got a bunch of flash right on the corners. I'm going to go take a file and clean that up. That's where your air fuel draws in through. So the smaller that window is, the less you're going to get in there. You can actually physically see that it looks like it's a little smaller too. Let me go clean that up a little. That's a little better. Get rid of all that flash that was on the outer edges. Let it so it can breathe. A lot of mods you could do with this too for performance. We're going to leave this one alone. I already put the one keeper in on this side. Thank God it's got a different type. But one thing to kind of keep aware of is you don't want to put that pin, that clip in where those prongs are on the sides. And the reason why is this is really moving up and changing directions so fast. It actually can stand the point of where over time it can walk on the change of direction. This spring, that's what it is, can actually work itself out of the groove, and they'll come in, they'll pop out of there, and they'll hit the side of the skirt and just kind of start chewing up the inside of the cylinder wall. See if we can get these back on. I wiped all of that out. losing any of it. Let's see if we can walk. And I set it up so, like I said, the clip I have to put on is the outer one. Did I get it? Or did I drop it? I think I got it. There we go. The bottom end bearing felt pretty good. Feeling for up and down. Should have a little bit of side to side, which it does. Not much for the up and down. And now I get to go do it again with this one. That's not the pliers I want. I need to want the teeth on it. Yeah. If you launch this across the room. Start with my fingers, and then you could rotate it to where you want. There we go. And that's seated in there pretty good. All right, we need to get a base gasket, clean up the cylinder, get some oil. Actually, need rings. Rings would help. Doesn't have any compression. I don't know why. Let's take a Sharpie and marked it there and there. That's where there's two pins that come out of the piston. And they fall into that little groove right there. I'm sure if you're in focus. And the ring itself, I gotta look again, has a bevel, and the bevel goes up. That would have been upside down. Yes. And with good fingernails, no swearing. Gingerly try to walk it down. Without snapping the ring. Into that groove. I don't want to do that. Once it falls in, it's a pain in the ass to get it out. Yeah, let's see if I can get it in. They make us fool to spread them. Joke there somewhere. That's one. Let's get our other one. Again, bevel up. Meaning bevel. It's flat on one side and it's got a taper that goes on the other. And the other pin is right about there. This one should be a little easier because you only got the one groove to worry about. Come on. Get in there. And that should fall into its groove. And when they close up, when it's in the cylinder, that gap gets really tiny. I can't even do it with my fingers right now, but you saw it earlier when it was in there, how small that air gap was. It's even more than that. I'm gonna see what I got for a portable ring compressor. You can kind of work it with the jug. Without a ring compressor, it's a pain. You can do it on a motorcycle. The bottom of the jug has a taper to it. Let me see if I have a ring compressor I can get on there that is removable. Unfortunately, I do not have one that goes that small that is removable. But here's that taper. You can kind of see it. It's on there. And it kind of helps you at least to walk it into place. But you also need to go and have a liberal amount of lube so that things kind of want to slide. Let's give her a shot. See how it does. Actually, I'm going to throw a little bit on the jug too. Plus it has like little windows. Like you're starting half of it at a time. You don't have to get all of it going at the same time. You can see where those cutouts are. And let's make sure we put it on the right direction because that would suck. Get the exhaust port opposite the intake. And again, those have to line up to their little grooves that we hit with a Sharpie. Unfortunately, they're going to like to turn too when we're putting stuff together. got some weight to it. The other thing too, you could actually start the, you can start it in the piston and you slide the pin in later on when the rings are already started. That's another option too. I am going to wrestle with this, but I do not want to feel like I'm pressured by the camera to do so because it may not come out very well. So I'm going to go try it with that. Worst case, like I said, I'm going to go pop the pin out. I'll start the piston inside the cylinder and then put the pin back in when it's halfway together. Voila. Make some compression. Pretty good. Good. I got my cover in the back for a cheat sheet. The heavy part of the gasket goes down to the thicker part of the metal ring. I think the head is ambidextrous. And we need, make sure the gasket's not going to fall out. Throw 2 in the center, right? Get in the hole. One. And there's the other. All right, so these 3 in the back have the tall stud. I think the exhaust bracket hung after that, or the motor mount hung off of that. Bolts have a torque, generally by the size of the bolt, has a window of what that bolt gets torqued at. And I would say that size right there is between 20 and 30. So we're gonna go call it 25. I'm gonna run them down, we'll grab a torque wrench and we're gonna go suck all of them down to 25. The last thing I did was I cleaned up the tin that went around the cylinder head, threw a couple screws in there. I believe there's a bracket that sits on top. So those 2, possibly those 4 stay out, I forget. Started 2 bolts here and 1 somewhere there. That might be in the wrong spot. The gas goes up top. Because we need to be able to catch those 2 right there. They got little cuts to slide in, and I think we have, yeah, 1 on top that's in the wrong spot. Slide that in. I'm gonna go take my time and try to wiggle that whole assembly down in there, probably without you watching because you make me nervous. And I did wedge a piece of wood in the clutch to open this up so the belt can fit further down in the groove, so it gives me a little bit of room to play with. Normally I take the clutch off, but it was fighting me, and I figured before I destroy something, I'd rather just kind of wrestle with this. Unless that becomes an issue, then we'll really fight with it. But for now, we're gonna go about it this way. I got the engine back on its motor mounts, but the cradle that it sits in still, we have that issue. And I thought that the bushing ripped away from the stud that was on there, like it was supposed to be bonded to it. But I started looking at the other two. Which one's better to see? Can you see that one back there? It's got a metal, big metal washer on top of it with a bolt. And I'm looking at the top of this one. You can see what appears to be a bolt too. So let's see if we can get this off and actually maybe just put a washer on there. I was going to put a washer over it and weld to the side of it, but that may not be necessary as long as they don't break that bolt. Is that a nut and bolt? It is a nut and bolt. There you go. That should do it. Actually, I need this spacer. There was a spacer that was in there. Now that I look at it, though, it does look like it was bonded to that spacer. But that should do it. That washer should hold it. They did the same on the other two, right? So why not? There you go. That looks factory. Well, they're together. We can get that piece of wood out of there. When we spin it, this should tighten up and tighten that belt up. Should. It's almost there. And then what happens in turn, that's the top. So now what happens is when this runs, there's a set of clutches or weights inside here that squeeze this pulley together, and we'll start to grab on this belt. And the more tension and the faster that it goes, it'll start pulling on this one and it'll change the gear ratio. So this one will get sucked down into the pulley and this one will grow up on top of the pulley. So the power's coming out of this one. Right now, it's very slow. Like say you got 10 turns for every 1 turn on here, and then it'll go to the point where it's probably about 50-50 direct shot. It'll be about the same size on that side and the same size on that. That'll be your top speed. So I'm putting it all back together. Took the wooden shim out of the pulleys and getting all the starter generator back on there, and then you realize that you screwed up. How many of you saw that and were yelling at me? I never put the belt on for the generator, and that's got to go on first before that belt goes on. I suck. So I put my wood shim back in. You can walk that belt off. It's not easy, but I'm wondering if I could take this belt and walk it under this one. What do you think? I think I stand a distinct possibility of possibly being able to do that. Maybe. The problem is the hunk of wood does not allow it to spin. It's got to go like that. I need a little sticky bit to poke it. Ha! I think I got it. Who's your daddy? So if later on and we're running it and we're trying to figure out what the rattle is, that's the inside of the muffler. Well, it must be done because I'm out of hardware. I didn't hook up the fuel system yet or the oiler. The oil tube, this has to get spun around the power oiler, as you call it. Automatic oiler, that's it. So that's got a reservoir with a line that goes through a pump, and then it's worked by the throttle cable how much or less it puts oil into the system, and should feed out of this tube. I got the plug still out of it. Let's hook the battery up. We'll give it a spin, and I want to see if we start getting oil pumping through there. If not, we're just going to do a pre-mix. There's a possibility that system didn't work. I think he was kind of alluding to that of possibly been an issue. Let's go find out. The jumper pack's connected. I think we gotta go. That's power on. Just pick either direction, and we use the pedals. This gotta go. That was for when I was towing it outside. keep the wheel straight. We hit that, so let's make a crank. I'm gonna go, can I hold it full throttle? Yeah. I'm gonna hold it full throttle, and I'll cause it to give more oil. It'll run the oiler all the way up. Let's see what we get. I am not seeing that move at all. Yeah, that didn't move at all. So yeah, I think he did have an oil, because he was screwing around with it. Is one of the things that he was saying. He was playing with trying to get stuff functioning. So that may have been why it burned up the rings too. It just literally had no oil and it just went in dry. Smoked her. Let's, what do we want to do? We can hook fuel up to it, but we got to hook premix, that's all. Let's see what we got. And I don't know where, is there anything even in it? Have we even opened this? It's looking pretty dry. Actually, it looks like it's got 2-stroke in it. We'll take care of that. But we'll just hook up a external line for now. Get the fire. Alright, got a gas line hooked up to it with just a little bit of gas. Let's give her a fire and see what she does. You think choke? No choke? Actually, is the choke even hooked up? I know one of the cables is off. Oh, choke's hooked up. Let's give her some choke. I don't hear nothing. Dump a little down the carb. We'll give her a little, where's our bottle? Give her a little, something like that. I should probably get her from this side, can't I? Yeah, just starting with fuel. She'll go. I got an exhaust leak there too, huh? Yeah. Let's try it again. There we go. That's a tad too much. I should give her a little bit of choke. When it goes to die, I'm gonna hit the choke. Fuel issue, but it did sound much better. It revved a lot better than it did before, and it hasn't blown a ton of smoke out. Just gotta go screw with a carb. Something happened there. See if it's drawing any fuel. It was up there, so it did draw some. Might have an issue. I hate when I have issues. I hooked up the oil line just to plug that vacuum leak. Did I tighten that? I did. Well, you know what? Unfortunately, it is late in the evening, so I'm going to go pick this back up probably tomorrow. Glad to just get it all back together. I do know what kind of runs. I'm going to have to go pull that carb again and go see if something happened with the float. Seems like it was starving for fuel. Or third time's the charm. One of the two. Oof. That won't start a fire. dies again. I might have used all the gas up, actually. Yeah, that's what happened. So it was starting to draw fuel. We got her. Need to get a little prime in her. Looking at this. Well, that's still connected. I thought it was broke right there. And it does look like it's starting to feed oil, but we got premix in it. We'll keep running with that. We'll see how that does. I don't want to use that if having issues. Plus, we don't have the intake on it, so it will run a little on the lean side. I'm sure that's kind of affecting it a little. All right. Definitely sounds much better than it did the first time. All right, the vent fan's on, refueled, see if fire up with no choke. You know, all that kind of stuff. No choke. Yeehaw! There we go. Almost out of gas. The gas is down in there again. Cool. Bull pie again. There's no intake system on it and it's cold. I think that'll be just fine. I think she's a survivor. A survivor, I tell you. So I ended up mopping the gas out of the tank and that's what came out of it. Lovely, huh? I think it's 2-stroke mix and it kind of maybe a little overzealous. That or a lot of the fuel evaporated and it knocked it down to, it's like about 1-to-1 mix, not 50-to-1. I do think the oil pump is working. It was leaking at this clamp. I changed that out. It was not tight. I think it was actually sucking air through there, so that could be why you see the air bubbles kind of in the line. So I got gas in the tank. Cleaned the tank out. I tried getting the tank out. It would not fit out of there without, you know, taking some of the body off, and that's not happening. It looks pretty clean. The fuel line is reconnected to the fuel pump. I blew it out before I connected everything to the fuel pump. Back from the fuel pump up to a jar. We're gonna go let it run through. I got the line filled up again. I want to run it for a couple of seconds, purge the fuel out, make sure the fuel pump is working. And if that's clean, we could hook the gas tank up and let it do its thing. Let's give her a shot. I think we're going to need some choke. It is cold. It's the next day. See what we get. If anything. Know why it won't start? That's why it won't start. Hold on. All right, now let's see if we get some gas going to the cup. Yeah, man. Good, now I can disconnect the gas line. We hook that up to it. We can run it off the tank now. We got fuel lines all hooked up. I wish it would just idle like a regular machine. I'm sure there's a way to maybe to bypass it. But again, you hit the pedal and that's what starts to stop it. When you let off the pedal all the way, it just shuts the spark off, so it dies. So it's not like you just sit here and let it idle and listen to it and look at things. You actually got to kind of stay on the throttle, and I was giving it gas, letting off, giving it gas and letting off. Right there it's off. Right there it's on. No choke. I think I'm pretty convinced that things seem decent. I'm gonna go put the rest of the air cleaner assembly on it. It'll help with choking it down a little bit more too. So the next thing, before I drop it on the ground, the tires are a little on the wacky side. It's got like a snow tire on the left, a yellow tire on the right. The front two, I'm not sure they're the same size. I do have two that I grabbed at a yard sale for a couple of bucks. Hopefully they bolt right up there. We'll throw them on the back anyway, and probably put the best of the others on the front. Getting ready to clean up the wheels. That's one of the new ones right there that I painted. And that one, I should probably pop that one back off and paint it, but it looked pretty good. And the other four are what were on there. I was trying to come up with a set. And before you say it, yes, they are all the same tire pressure. But you can see the height difference. So that's what we want. This one was at like 35 psi, and all the other ones were at about 5. But these kind of look like the same tread. They're not the same tire. They all say the same number on the side. They're all 18 by 8.5 by 8. They're all different sizes, and they're all at 20 psi right now. So that one and that one probably look the closest. This is probably the newest. But we're trying to get something that, I don't know what matters more, the tread or the height. I would think the height. And none of them are a pair. None of them line up with each other. I don't know, maybe because the same difference is there. Maybe we'll just go larger. You can see the height on this one compared to this one. And the tread will match. I guess we're gonna go with these. We'll paint these up. That took a minute. Painted all the rims and painted the hubs. So it's definitely stuck up in the air for a while. And I forgot about the tailgate escape hatch for the engine. We gotta do something for that. I went around with a grinder, took all the sharp edges off. Trying to figure out, would it be better? I got hinges. Would it be better to hinge up to the cab, or do you think if it flipped over, maybe back down onto itself? I think the problem with the cab part is the back wall isn't straight up and down, it's leaning. So when you put it up, it's almost probably going to be straight up and down and want to fall on you. What's your thoughts? And I'm going to overlap, so wherever the hinges are, you know, there'll be a hinge here, a hinge on the other, and then we'll just get a piece of metal. And we're going to scab right over the outsides of it. We'll weld that on, and it'll just be a lip that lands on the other surface. Actually, I probably should, yeah, it's going to be a pain in the ass. I should do it underneath, so that it falls back down in the hole without a ridge. Should, but we're not. All right, let's go. I'm going with this way. You agree? Good. So that's it. After I cut like 1-inch strips and went around the perimeter, you can fold it this way. Then I went up in my stash. I found a couple of hinges. I do believe they are steel that are just coated with like a brass coloring on it. So I'm going to go drill out the center holes. I'm probably going to just do some plug welds right in the middle of them. The hump in the center, again, it probably would have been better to try to do everything from the bottom, but I'm not dealing with that. This is not what this thing is. It's not a restoration, it's just a repair, he said. Yeah, we'll go mark those. Probably should hit them with a Sharpie. And I'll come back with a drill or something. Actually, is that where I want it? Let's go in, roughly. I think that was good. Let's go back to those marks. Clean them up. And then plug weld. I don't know if we need a handle. You think we need a handle to lift it? Or you think we just grab it by that? Let's go take these away and try it. I think we don't need a handle. That way there's no hole in it neither. That should work out good enough. This whole bed is ratty anyway. I don't know if you can see it. Like all the ends are gone. The outside 2 inches are hammered. Either just get a piece of wood and slide it right in, or maybe a rubber mat, or just leave it alone. Which is probably what's really going to happen. Hot off the grill. Still smoking. So she does. Everybody out of the way. That's fine. What more can you ask for? So more to the front, I was going to throw the tires on there. Taking a quick peek. Looks like the wiring harness has got some issues. I don't know where the blue wire goes and what that did. It's not doing anything right now. I think I'm going to go take a self-tapper and one of those plastic body clamps. I'm going to run that behind here. I'm just going to go clamp that one down. I think the other side's the same way. Yeah, same issue on the other side. Looks like they probably had headlights on the front. Maybe there was a front bumper on this. That's the leaf spring perch. I don't know. Looks like there was some lights. I don't see any holes up above. They got, you know, that Cyclops looking one in the center of it. I don't know. Maybe there was something here that came down with a couple of lights. Maybe off those brackets right there. Well, I'm going to go tie those wires up and get them out of harm's way. Then we can put our wheels on. We can throw some grease in that front end. What do you think? Yeah, it's dry. It's dry. Dry. The blue and the black, maybe. The pink, I just can't. And although I'd like to drive it out of here, around that corner, I do not trust myself with that gas and go and not go and trying to go little bits at a time without smashing into something. I'm going to go throw the go dollies underneath the back of it and get it out into the main hallway. Shall we? And do a little cold starter. We got to put power on. And are we forward or forward? Probably a little bit of choke because it's cold. See how she goes. New battery too. We got brakes, kinda. Time to choke off. Uh-oh. That might be tight. Robert is racing. don't think this was how this was supposed to end, but she's getting no fuel. And just so you know, they do not roll very good. They do not like to be pushed. See if we can not flip the forklift over. It's not exactly the best ground for this forklift either. Hopefully we don't get stuck. Kind of thinking that float's stuck. I'm gonna pop the fuel line off of there. This is German fuel line for VW, so it's kind of like Chinese fingers. You pull on it, it gets tighter. You got to get it from the bottom and lift up on it. I guess. Let's give her a little positive reinforcement. Pop that back on, give her a crank. See if that'll do it for us. Yeah, so the float's stuck. That was a pain. Doesn't keep doing that? We'll have to get that car back off there and figure out what happened. Fortunately, it's dark out already, so I don't know how kind of test ride we're going to be able to do and be able to see. Yeah, it'll be dark, but at least you can go see if it'll stay running. Reverse. Switch her to forward. Can you see? I can't. Good. Well, I guess we'll have to wait for a light. Boy, is that foggy. You can't see a thing, can you? Well, again, at least we can see that it does work. Well guys, I think that's going to kind of do it for us. I've been running around probably about 4 or 5 days every day. Take it out, spin it around the building a little bit, run it through the woods, and run it through its paces. It seems decent. It seems also to need to run with the choke on a little bit, or it's a little on the lean side. That could be either the carb still has an issue or the crank seals are leaking, which I probably should have done when I had it out, but you know, hindsight's 20/20. Crank seals, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So on the bottom of the engine, behind the flywheel on the other side and the pulley on this side, right where the engine case and the shaft comes out, there's a seal on it. Used on a two-stroke, it uses the bottom of the crankcase as a sealed unit. It draws air fuel mix into the bottom end, and then from the bottom end, when the piston moves, it moves it to the top of the piston and fires it and repeats itself. Well, if it's leaking on the ends of the crank, it screws the mixture up, causes it to run lean, not be consistent, because it's leaking some of that charge out of the sides there. So that's possibly what is happening with it too. We're going to keep running it. I think we got more than enough on this video, and I will probably get those ordered at some point. I will do them. It needs more love. Some other stuff should be taken care of. New belts on it. Brakes are kind of iffy. You hit them, they slow you down. They don't exactly lock it up, but they'll slow you down. That light's not hooked up in the front. The sheet metal needs to be kind of banged around and straightened out, but it is functional for what it is. I'm going to continue to run it around the shop here in the building. Maybe run a little errands. I got cars parked out back for, you know, grabbing parts or whatever. and till spring, and then springtime I'll probably bring it to my house or the cabin, and we'll use it for a bit of a utility car. Maybe put some, you know, rakes and shovels and that kind of thing in the back of it. But for now, we're gonna go call it, I guess, a win. It does run and drive. Not perfect, but it's decent. Top speed is probably 15 miles an hour. I don't think they're powerhouses as they are anyway. So with that, I thank you guys for hanging out with me, and a little fun wrenching on old rusty junk and bringing stuff back to life. See what makes them tick. So we'll do it again soon. All right, guys. I'll see you soon.